Hi class, today I'm covering Chapter 2, First Civilizations, from 3500 to 600 BCE. More information can be found in pages 59 and 95 in the textbook. So we learned about the first people in Chapter 1. These people domesticated plants and animals near river valleys, which provided a steady supply of water and food. These small villages then grew into cities and underwent job specialization, advanced government, social structures, and religion. Please note that not everyone believed in settling in cities, and some people stayed as hunter and gatherers, such as some Africans and people from the Amazons. One of the first civilizations was Sumer in Mesopotamia. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers provided fertile land, but they often caused natural disasters. The first civilization was Sumer, which consisted of 12 competing city-states, and each city-state had its own god. Sumerians were polytheistic, basing their temples, called ziggurats, around them. Sumer was then followed by the Akkadians, Assyrians, and then Babylonians, which adopted Sumerian traditions. The Mesopotamians created new technologies such as a 12-month calendar, the wheel, a plow, and even the first form of writing, known as cuneiform. The ancient Egyptian civilization developed along the Nile River. Unlike the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Nile River flooded at a predictable time of the year. The entire river valley was united under King Menes. However, cities were less prominent because the greater security made it less necessary for people to live in urban centers. The Egyptians were also polytheistic and believed in an afterlife and pharaohs. At the top of the social pyramid was of course the pharaohs, followed by the priests, merchants, and finally peasants and slaves. The pharaohs built massive pyramids to house their mummified bodies and treasures. Although it was a very wealthy and powerful civilization, by 1100 BC, ancient Egypt fell into decline. There was another first civilization known as Norte-Chico, which existed along the central coast of Peru. The civilization experienced a rich fishing industry. However, it did not use grain farming and did not develop pottery, writing, or art. There is little evidence of warfare, but the civilization is thought to lead to the Andean Shavan and other Indian civilizations. Next was the Indus River Valley civilization. It had two major cities known as Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, which had more than 100,000 people. The cities had urban planning, good streets, and a sewage system. However, after repetitive irrigation, people abandoned the civilization by 1900 BC. The Chinese civilization arose near the Yellow River. China consisted of the Xia dynasty, Qing dynasty, Zhou dynasty, and finally the Warring States period. The Chinese believed in the mandate of heaven. They practiced Confucianism and Taoism, and even had early forms of metalworking. The Chinese also had forms of writing, silk, and palaces. Around 2200 BCE, the Oxus River Valley arose in Central Asia. The civilization built temples, walls, gates, artisan workshops, irrigation, ceramics, and burial techniques. They also traded with China, India, and Mesopotamia. In 1700 BCE, however, the river valley was abandoned. Finally, the Olmec civilization developed around 1200 BC along the Gulf of Mexico. They grew maize, beans, squash, used urban planning, rituals, and even played a game with the rubber ball. They were known for their 17 basalt heads, which represent the power of the rulers. The civilization influenced the Mayas and many American civilizations. As early as the civilizations are, we start to see the first forms of inequality. The wealth was not evenly distributed and led to inequality in social hierarchies. The Babylonian Code of Hammurabi is also a good example. For example, hitting a ruler was much more punishable than hitting a slave. We also find inequalities in genders. These civilizations practiced a patriarchal ideal. This likely occurred when early farming required heavy work and men were more compatible for the job. Men were usually the rulers, warriors, scholars, and the head of households, while the women usually worked at home. So now piecing it all together, domestication of plants and animals led to a ready source of food. This means that people don't need to spend their time finding their next meal. This leads to job specialization, artisan goods, early forms of government. Another big change was writing, which meant people don't have to relearn everything, and writing distinguished the elites from the peasants. Writing also led to things such as astronomy and mathematics. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a better understanding at Chapter 2.